40 years ago, a little-known cartoon that was meant to sell toys was released and changed this little boy's life forever. 40 years later, here he is reviewing a movie, and he feels like that kid again. Here are my immediate thoughts on Transformers 1. Hey everyone, this is Lenny here. So I just got out of Transformers 1, the newest Paramount animated feature that does have to do with the successful Transformers franchise. This is directed by Josh Cooley, who directed Toy Story 4. Full disclosure, I am a super mad Transformers fan. I think when I did my trailer reaction for Transformers 1, I held up my super duper expensive Optimus Prime toy that I have. That's actually one of my favorite things that I have in my entire life. But Transformers, as I mentioned at the start, came out 40 years ago as a Saturday morning cartoon, and as a young boy, this show changed my life. And seeing sentient robots that are aliens that can transform into cars and planes and tanks and guns and all sorts of insane shit. It was just something as a 6-year-old is just mind-blowing. But it's not just that, and the toys were fantastic, especially the first die-cast metal ones. For Generation 1, those toys were fantastic. But it wasn't just the toys. There was actual lore that you could really dig into, whether it was the general war of Cybertron that, kind of introduces everyone to the Autobots and the Decepticons, the two warring factions, or it's, the lore of Primus sacrificing himself to become Cybertron. And there's all this stuff that you can pull, whether it's from the television show or comics and graphic novels. There's just so much going on. So going into Transformers 1, I'll admit I was a little trepidatious. I was a little hesitant just because the first trailer that came out didn't really give me a whole lot of confidence. It really leaned into the comedy aspect, the humor aspect, and a lot of the jokes in that trailer were pretty juvenile. And when I did the trailer reaction, I was like, yeah, well, this seems, they're introducing Transformers to a newer generation, so they're going to, play up the humor and probably the more kiddie aspects of it. And I was like, you know what? Fair play. If they're looking to introduce Transformers to a younger generation. I was 5 when I was introduced to Transformers, so I'm not going to be mad. So those were the impressions that I was thinking going into this movie, that this was going to be, kind of a buddy comedy that would surround Orion Pax and D16, who eventually become Optimus Prime and Megatron. Orion Pax is voiced by Chris Hemsworth, and D16 Megatron voiced by Tyree Henry. But I was like, it's going to be kind of a buddy comedy. We'll get some cool animated action sequences and everything like that, but it'll probably just kind of be more of a, just kind of a forgettable movie, but fun, and for the kids. Man, was I wrong. And I am not going to make the obligatory more than meets the eye joke that is suited for this movie, because god damn, this was fantastic. This and it's crazy because there is only one other animated Transformers movie, Transformers the movie, that came out in 1986. And yes, obviously I saw that movie, and I saw that when I saw it on opening day with my younger sister and one of my cousins. And obviously the big moment was when Optimus Prime died, and that just crushed the dreams of so many young children. I was crying. There were other children that were crying. I mean, it was such a big stink that parents wrote letters saying, "Why would you kill Optimus Prime? You have scarred my child for life. What are you doing?" So the animators and the producers of Transformers had to bring Optimus Prime back. That was the zeitgeist. That was how incredibly, insanely popular the Transformers franchise was. Just for those who weren't living it between like 1984 and I would say like 1988, Transformers was just permeated every aspect of pop culture. But I'm going on a tangent. That's really just to give context as to how huge this franchise is. And you fast forward to the Michael Bay movies, sure. But they're a couple of them are $1 billion movies, and it did revive the franchise. And as well, there we have so many other animated properties: Beast Wars, Transformers Armada, and so there are all these different, like I said, bits and pieces of lore that you could build from. And Transformers 1 deals with basically an origin story of the war for Cybertron. We're actually not even there yet. When the movie begins, we are given the brief story about Primus, the first Transformer, and how he basically sacrificed himself and turned himself into Cybertron, and created all the other Transformers and gave them sentience. And they were supposed to, he created the first 13 primes that were meant to protect Cybertron. And from Cybertron, there's an energy love energy force, energon, that the Transformers would be able to feed on, and they would be able to live and in peace and unity and harmony. Well, there was an alien invasion, the Quintessons, and again, this is all like real lore, that came, and they fought the Transformers and the original 13 primes, and they sacrificed themselves and fought off the Quintessons. But what happened was, it destroyed the flow of energon in Cybertron. So now we're in present day, sort of, and we meet Orion Pax and D16, who are miners. And the way that the Transformers now are able to get energon in Cybertron is through mining. So Orion Pax and D16 are miners in Cybertron. They are best friends. They watch each other's back. And, Chris Hemsworth and Tyree Henry, they really do have a really good rapport as Orion Pax and D16. And you really do feel like that they are friends and that they do protect each other. When the movie begins, Orion Pax is in the archives of Cybertron, and is learning about the history of the primes. And his big mission is he wants to find the matrix of leadership that has gone missing since the war, when the Quintessons invaded Cybertron. He wants to find it and kind of bring the flow of energon back to Cybertron. So so that's kind of going on. But the planet is ruled by Sentinel Prime, voiced by Jon Hamm. And Sentinel Prime is popular. He seems to be like, he's all for the good of Cybertron, and he has gone on a quest to find the matrix of leadership. And once he is able to obtain that, obviously that would bring peace and unity to Cybertron, and they would not need to mine for energon anymore. Well, come to find that there is more. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. There is more than meets the eye to how things are run on Cybertron, and there are betrayals and twists and turns. Eventually, Orion Pax and D16 do go on this quest to find the matrix of leadership within Cybertron. They also run into two other two other Transformers, Elita 1, played by Scarlett Johansson, and B, who we would all come to know as Bumblebee, played by Keegan-Michael Key, and they are great as well. And it's really great as well for someone as a fan that's really into the lore to see Elita 1 in this, because there is a past between Elita 1 and Orion Pax. They do have sort of a relationship. And they at first when they meet, Orion Pax gets her fired because and I'll say it, Orion Pax is a fuck up. He's a screw up. He gets in trouble all the time. He is an individualist to a fault. Where there are protocols that need to be met when you're mining, but he is someone that, like, he is an eternal optimist, and he's one of those guys that's like, there has to be more out there than just us mining within Cybertron. They're not allowed to actually go on the surface of Cybertron. That's actually forbidden for good reason. And so, they go on this quest, and like I said, there's all these twists and turns. And, like I said, the movie starts out sort of like a buddy comedy with Orion Pax and D16. But things do take a turn. There are two really amazing turns in this movie that I was like, yeah, this is not the movie that I thought it was going to be. First, when the Transformers all meet up with one of the Primes, Alpha Trion, voiced by Laurence Fishburne, and he was thought to be dead along with the other Primes. He still had a little bit of a spark, and a spark is what gives all the Transformers life, and that was gifted by Primus when he transformed himself into Cybertron and sacrificed himself for the good of all Transformers. But Laurence Fishburne as Alpha Trion lets the Transformers know that how they live is actually a lie, and Sentinel Prime is not who he says he is, and has actually betrayed all Transformers. This is obviously life-changing for all these Transformers, and devastating. And the movie takes this turn and goes from this humorous action comedy and starts to turn into a real drama, because we see the devastation of this betrayal and how this betrayal affects everyone differently. And you see, like, Orion Pax, for example, is like, wow, I can't believe this happened, but we have to make things right. We have to bring Sentinel Prime to justice. While D16 is like, this man lied to my face and said, things are going to be okay, and I'm here to protect you. I want this man's head. I want him dead. And you see the seeds planted to the philosophical differences that would grow between Optimus Prime and Megatron. We see the seeds already planted here. Also, Alpha Trion gifts these Autobots, Orion Pax, D16, Elita 1, and B, with cogs, with transformation cogs that allows them to transform. And Sentinel Prime actually took away everyone's transformation cogs to enslave them. And this is another thing that drives D16 crazy. And D16 is, he's a fan of the history of Cybertron, and one of the Primes was like Megatronus, I think his name was, and he has his own insignia, and it's the symbol of the Decepticons, but it's not revealed as that. It's just his own individualized symbol. And there's all this stuff that happens, And you see D16 as things progress, he grows angrier and angrier. And then eventually we meet up with some of the High Guard, those who underground are trying to overthrow Sentinel Prime, and they are led by Starscream. And this is when this movie becomes amazing as a fan, because there are so many Easter eggs. If you are a fan of Transformers, of the toy line, of the lore, everything explodes in this scene. Like I said, Steve Buscemi plays Starscream, and what's great, and I'm gonna get back to Steve Buscemi's voice performance, and it does play into this. What Josh Cooley really achieves is the essence of the Transformers and the essence of each individual Transformer. We see, we capture, he captures the essence of Orion Pax's or Optimus Prime's nobility. We capture, he's able to capture Megatron's, his individualized sense of self, and him being this narcissistic leader. He's able to capture Starscream's cowardice and deception. When and this is where I'm going to get back to Steve Buscemi. He does such a great job of capturing Starscream as this wannabe leader. He's the leader of the High Guard, but he is also a coward, because his approach to how the High Guard attacks Sentinel Prime is sort of like a hit and run. And D16 is like, I'm not about that anymore, man. I'm not about hitting and running. I want Sentinel Prime, and I want him now, and I want him dead. Who's going to follow me? And people are suddenly like, yeah, But we are introduced to Soundwave, Shockwave, Skywarp. All of these, these are big names in Transformers lore. And we see, the rise of Megatron as like I said, as his rage grows and infests him. And this movie, just like I said, takes a wild turn. And the action scenes are tremendous. The animation for this movie is just out there, just great. Just seeing how Cybertron works, seeing how all the Transformers are able to transform, and we get the joke in the trailer where when Orion Pax and D16 and Elita 1 and B are all trying to transform for the first time. They're all kind of stuck, and it reminds me of when I would first get Transformers, and I think everyone that first got Transformers ran into this, where they first tried to transform their toy and they're like kind of stuck. It's like a Rubik's Cube. It's like, well, how do I do this? How do I get there? My first Transformer was Jazz, and he was the F1 racer, Formula One racer. And yeah, he had like this kind of simple design where he kind of had the frame of the front of the F1 kind of came up, but it was his legs that was always kind of hard to like figure out. So seeing that scene was like, as a kid, as a fanboy, I was like, yeah, I get that. So that was actually kind of fun. But yeah, this movie takes this wild turn, and it turns into more than just this quest for the Matrix of Leadership. It turns into this philosophical battle between Orion Pax and D16. And when things get to a head, and the reveals happen of Optimus Prime and Megatron, they are earned. They are felt. You really, really believe it, because there are two betrayals that happen in this movie. There's the betrayal of Sentinel Prime, and then there's the betrayal of Megatron and to Optimus Prime. And that is really, really deep. And and heartfelt. And I felt that Josh Cooley and his team did a really great job of building up this friendship between Orion Pax and D16. So when they are ripped apart and, Optimus Prime and Megatron choose their sides, it is a tragedy in itself. You see where everything is going, and it's like it is a shame. And then we get the start of the war for Cybertron. But this movie was absolutely fantastic. The voice work was great. The animation, like I said again, was outstanding. Keegan-Michael Key as B was great. And it's funny because that's Bumblebee was another character that this movie really did capture the essence of, because Bumblebee is just was just always super optimistic character. And I know that the Michael Bay Transformers movies kind of exaggerated that to where it was like he couldn't talk because he talked so much. But Bumblebee in the cartoons and like in the original like G1 cartoons, he was like this chatterbox, and he would go on these adventures with Spike, Wiki. And so I was like, I got it. I got that, B would have this enthusiasm. He would get like his metal plate, his protective plate, and his like knife hands and everything like that. So yeah, that was fun. And seeing Alita One do her thing was great. RC is in this. They have this whole race that Sentinel Prime does every year. So the miners don't have to work. But again, it's something to really more to suppress everyone. There's a lot of stuff going on here, politically, in terms of how leaders suppress their people and how revolutions are formed and started. This movie really gets into the politics of that, and that's really appreciated as an adult. And seeing it placed within the world of Transformers is just, it's just great. It just adds another layer to the lore, and it feels like that in this film, Transformers has truly grown up with its audience. So as someone that has been a fan since 1984, I've been a fan for 40 years from the jump. This is one of the best Transformers properties out there. I love Transformers the movie 1986. That is always going to be my jam, and no matter what, I will pop that in Blu-ray or watch it on streaming whenever I get the chance. But Transformers 1, like narratively, stylistically, in terms of the story, this may be the best Transformers movie created. Josh Cooley and his team did a fantastic job, and like I said, everything leading up to those big major moments that you are expecting to get as a Transformers fan, they are there, and you are definitely rewarded as a Transformers fan. But you know what? If you are not a fan and you are going in blind, there's still a lot. I feel like the movie did a really good job of being very clear about the world of Cybertron and how it works. Cybertron is really cool. I actually did like the design. It's kind of like this hybrid of metal and life. There are weeds and trees that kind of grow out of certain parts of Cybertron, and I'm sure that has to do with like the Energon, that, and we see like Transformers deer that's on the planet, that's on the surface. So seeing that the world and how it's fleshed out before the Cybertronian War was like really cool. Again, little Easter eggs, like there's a fight that breaks out between Megatron and Starscream naturally. And it takes a turn when it has to do with Starscream's voice. And it's such a great nod to Chris Latta, and he was the one who did Starscream's voice for the cartoon. He also voiced Cobra Commander for G.I. Joe. And I do feel as well that both Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry did a great job in terms of voicing Orion Pax D16 and their transformations, into the voice acting, changes gradually until you hear Optimus and Megatron. And I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to be curious to go back, but it almost felt like, especially with Chris Hemsworth, that I wonder if there was like a mix where they added like a little bit of like Peter Cullen to Chris Hemsworth's voice in terms of the sound editing. Because it really did sound at times, and if it is just Chris Hemsworth, he did a great job at the end of sounding like Peter Cullen. And Peter Cullen has always been the voice of Optimus Prime, all the way up through the Michael Bay movies, all the way through like Bumblebee. He is the voice of it. Is almost like, James Earl Jones being the voice of Darth. There is only one Highlander. There is only one voice. So, if it is just Chris Hemsworth, that was tremendous. But if they did mix in a little bit of Peter Cullen, I wouldn't be surprised, and that was actually really well done. But the same thing with Brian Tyree Henry and the everything with Megatron. At the end, it really did have a nice ring of Frank Welker, and he did a voice of a lot of the Transformers. Peter Cullen also, because I think he voiced Ironhide too, but Frank Welker voiced Megatron. I think he voiced Soundwave. He voiced like half the Decepticons basically. But if you are a fan of the Transformers franchise, you are going to walk out absolutely thoroughly satisfied with this movie. It is going to give you everything you want in terms of the lore. It's going to give you everything you want in terms of the story structure and the beats and the action. It's going to give you everything you want, again, in terms of seeing the seeds planted for the Cybertronian War. This was a tremendous movie. This is honestly one of my favorite movies of the year. I did not go into this movie expecting that at all, but goddamn, this was great. This is a blockbuster, a high blockbuster for me. This was fantastic, and anyone that isn't a fan of Transformers but still is a fan of animated fare, I think you're still gonna get a lot out of this movie. Now, I will say as well, and not just for Easter egg sake or whatever, but there are 2 post-credit scenes, so definitely stay for those, and they're both great. One is just kind of like a little comedic nod, but the other one is really, really powerful. And I am really now excited to see what this particular version of the Transformers franchise is going to go. We have so much that Josh Cooley and Paramount can do with this animated world. We still have the war for Cybertron to start out with. Are we going to do like a full G1 animated Transformers franchise now, where we have them on planet Earth, where we had the Autobots fighting on the Ark? I'm doing some deep cuts, and I know that this is going to be like a really long review because I'm a super fan. But I mean, I have to do this just for context. I mean, are we getting into the fight where they're on the Ark and they crash into the volcano? And they lie dormant for 4 million years? Are we going to get into that? Are we going to finally get a real, honest to goodness, good Unicron movie? I want to see that. I'm assuming we're still going to see stuff with the Quintessons. There's so much that this franchise can do. And I do know that Hasbro did another deal where I guess the live action Transformers are going to do stuff with G.I. Joe, whatever. Let them have their fun. I'll still watch those. I'm sure they're going to be ridiculous and whatever. But this really feels like that the producers for this franchise is really taking the story of the Cybertronian War and the Autobots and Decepticons really seriously. And it's not just that they took, the Transformers lore and turned it into like, a really funny, humorous, comedy at times, but turned it into like a real serious, like, at times, like political action, like drama. I was like really shocked. But yeah, this was absolute fire. This was absolute fire. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. I can't believe I'm saying this. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's as good as Inside Out 2. That's still like the top of the heap in terms of animated features, but this is definitely up there with them. Wow, you guys, chef's kiss, man, primo job. But yeah, those are my initial. I talked about this movie for a half hour. Yeah, I love Transformers. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts and feelings on Transformers 1. What did you guys think of the movie? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.